Join me tonight on Twitch at 9 p.m. Eastern and every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, where we will play NFL trivia for cash prizes. Link to play below. And now, on with our feature presentation. Remember this show? Back in the mid-2000s, it really felt like Extreme Makeover Home Edition was one of the most popular shows in the country, and ingrained itself in pop culture in a way that very few shows during that time period could. Don't believe me? All I have to do is say 5 words, and say, "Bus driver, move that bus." And if you were around back then, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. During its peak, on Sunday nights, this show was consistently ranked inside the top 20 of the Nielsen ratings, with millions of people tuning in to hear a story about a family who lost everything and has been struggling to make ends meet, but was made up of a bunch of super nice and inspiring and caring people who you couldn't help but feel bad for. So they go on vacation for a week while a crew comes in and builds them a brand new house beyond their wildest dreams. Now, did the show have its problems? Oh, you bet. Mainly, there's the fact that the houses were so ridiculously large and over the top that not only did they stick out like sore thumbs, but it was impossible for most of the families to pay taxes on them. So they just wound up selling them. Because a stay-at-home mom and an auto mechanic with 4 kids can long-term afford to pay taxes on a 10-bedroom, 3-story mansion with a full-size indoor basketball court and a swimming pool in the backyard. And there's the fact that the rooms were designed in insane detail to whatever the kid liked, which is fine and all until the kid grows up, and then the room just becomes laughably out of place. A kid really loves dinosaurs? Let's build an entire dinosaur-themed room full of jungle vines and with a meteor-shaped chair, and a T-Rex that moves, and just hope that they magically don't grow out of that phase when they reach middle school. Despite its flaws, and trust me, there were many, the show was a ratings success, and was, for many people, a feel-good story each and every week that they could come back to. Heck, I distinctly remember watching that show just about every Sunday night growing up, watching to see what the finished product looked like in between the commercial breaks of the Sunday night football game. Seriously, in many ways, Extreme Home Makeover felt inescapable. Which raises the question, what the heck does this TV show about rebuilding homes have to do with the NFL? And wasn't this show an ABC show? ABC didn't have football back then, and if they did, it was on Monday nights. So it wasn't when Ty Pennington was yelling words into a megaphone. So what does this have to do with anything? Well, it has to deal with one of the strangest broadcasting controversies of the entire 2005 season. Because in 2005, there was a bitter feud between the NFL, ABC, and Extreme Home Makeover of all things. And the end result? Prepare yourselves for one of the dumbest solutions to the problem possible. Because this is the story behind what might just be, considering the circumstances, the craziest broadcasting controversy of the entire 2005 season. Before I talk about the controversy in question, we need some context to understand the game that was impacted by this, as well as how broadcasting rules worked back then. It's December 12, 2005. It's week 14 of the NFL season, and as we hit the final quarter of the year, we have an NFC North battle on our hands on ESPN in prime time, between the Detroit Lions and the Green Bay Packers. There have been plenty of Sunday night football games in the history of Sunday nights. There have been all-time classic games that the whole country looks forward to. This was not one of them. In fact, on paper, this might have been the worst Sunday night football game of all time. Flex scheduling was not a thing back then, so whatever ESPN got as their Sunday night game at the start of the season, they were stuck with. And man, was this some bad luck. 2 weeks before, they had to air a game between the 2-8 New York Jets and the 2-8 New Orleans Saints. You thought that was rock bottom? The NFL said, hold my beer, and gave them this scheme right here between the 2-10 Green Bay Packers and the 4-8 Detroit Lions. How thrilling. A battle between two teams with a combined 6 wins who were both miles out of the playoff picture. Absolute ratings juggernaut right there. I know the Sunday Night Football theme that we know today didn't start until NBC took over in 2006, but if Faye Pell or Pink or Carrie Underwood ever said that they were waiting all day for Sunday night, and it was for this game, you knew that they were lying. Now, to be fair, even though this game meant absolutely nothing in terms of the playoff picture or on the season, sometimes games between two awful teams can turn out to be good games. And that's what this was here, as the Packers won in overtime, defeating the Lions by a final score of 16-13. Green Bay's defense was exceptional during this game, as after allowing 13 points on Detroit's first 3 drives of the game, the Lions would not score for the final 8 drives, with 5 of those 8 drives not even managing to pick up a first down. On the ground, Sam Gatto had an amazing day, running for 171 yards and a touchdown on 5.9 yards per carry, in what was, by a country mile, the best game of his career. Gatto played 5 seasons in the NFL. He eclipsed 75 yards in a game just twice. The other 2 times, he ran for 103 yards and 111 yards. This time, it was 171, or 60 more than his career high otherwise, or 54% better than his second best performance. In many ways, considering the primetime nature of it, this was one of the best one-game wonders in Packers history. This season was a train wreck for the Packers in just about every way. But after a 3-game losing streak and 6 losses in their last 7, at least they could win 1 in front of their home fans and keep their home winning streak against the Lions alive. But that raises the question, if this game was on ESPN, then what the heck does ABC and Extreme Home Makeover have to do with anything? Well, we have to remember broadcasting rules. NFL rules mandate that every game must be shown in the local market of the team playing. In other words, if Detroit has a game, then a station in the city of Detroit must show the game, no matter what. Because of this, if the game is on cable, is behind a paywall, or needs a subscription to view, then local stations are allowed to buy the rights to that game. The telecast is exactly the same, so there are no added production costs. However, you can air local spots and whatnot and make money back that way, while at the same time, getting some added eyeballs on your channel depending on what game it was. If that sounds familiar, that's because we're seeing that right now with the NFL and Amazon on Thursday Night Football. Yes, you need to have Amazon Prime in order to watch the Thursday night games, but if your local team is playing in the game, you get to see the game on over-the-air TV. So if all you care about is your team, you never have to pay a cent to follow the action all year round. And because this game was behind a paywall on ESPN, it allowed for Detroit stations to buy the rights to the game. That's exactly what wxyz, or Channel 7, did. As the ABC affiliate in Detroit, we get to air this Packers-Lions game on Sunday Night Football, so that even if you were a Lions fan who didn't have cable, you could still watch your team play. The only problem? That's the same time that Extreme Home Makeover aired. Both programs started at 8 o'clock Eastern, and obviously, since the ABC affiliate in Detroit now has the rights to air this game, they couldn't show Ty Pennington's show, which was a problem, seeing as the show was a ratings juggernaut for the network. For some reason, and I have no idea why, they didn't care about the much more successful show that aired right after Extreme Home Makeover, and didn't care as much about having to preempt Desperate Housewives, which you can learn more about by clicking the card in the upper right corner. They cared about Extreme Home Makeover not being shown in its regular time. When the ABC executives found out that one of their affiliates, and a major affiliate at that, bought the rights to a Packers-Lions game between 2 teams with a combined 6 wins, and wouldn't be able to air the show, oh, they were livid. And because of this, they demanded that the people at Channel 7 in Detroit preempt something else in order to air Extreme Home Makeover during the weekend. They forced them to preempt the Marshall's U.S. Figure Skating Challenge to show this episode on Sunday, December 11th from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock, forcing them to preempt a live sporting event, one of the biggest figure skating events of the year, and a preview of what was to come in 2 months' time at the 2006 Winter Olympics for this show. Instead of saying that they had to show it, but just pick some other time, like early in the morning or straight after the local news once the game ended, they forced them to put it on Sunday afternoon and preempt a live event featuring some of the biggest figure skaters in the world, including Michelle Kwan, Sasha Cohen, Johnny Weir, and Michael Weiss, just to name a few. So now, this feud between the NFL and ABC and Extreme Home Makeover now had figure skating put into it, which makes no sense, because again, this was not just a live sporting event, but a live sporting event where fans voted on the winners and the best performances. So you needed the live element of it, because otherwise, the entire metro area of Detroit cannot vote. Figure skating fans were irate that they could now no longer watch this big event that they planned their Sunday around, all because of the Lions, a last-minute preemption, and a time switch for Extreme Home Makeover because ABC couldn't go 1 week without showing the program. As Marla Drutz, the programming director for Channel 7, said on this, "We hate it when this sort of thing happens." But based on every indication and every report, this seemed to be completely out of her control. This was a call from the higher-ups. They were at the mercy of the executives, which absolutely stinks. But okay, look, as much as I hate it, I get it. You still want to air this show during the weekend, and in an hour where people will be awake. So if Sunday from 1 to 3 during a big figure skating competition was really the best idea, and was the best of the worst possible choices, okay. But just out of curiosity, I'm interested to see what this episode was about. What family would we be helping this week? We'd be helping the Novak family, an Ohio family with 3 kids, and a dad who's a school teacher and a widow after his wife died suddenly. Alright, that's a tragic story. I mean, I'd rather watch the figure skating, but again, wait a second, that's the wrong date. That episode aired last week. That episode aired December 4th. My bad. It's not the Novak family. Note to self, make sure to edit that part out. So, let's try that again. What family would we be helping out this week? We'd be helping out the Nush family, a Kansas family with 5 kids who lost everything after their home exploded due to a propane leak, and whose dad was living in a school bus because they truly had nothing. Alright, that's a tragic story. Once again, I'd rather watch figure skating, but to see 5 kids finally get a big enough house where they can comfortably live is sure to be an emotional ride. And it's sure to make for a great... Wait a second, that's the wrong date. That's the episode airing on January 1st. How did I get the wrong date twice? Where's the episode that's supposed to air this Sunday from 1 to 3? Where's the episode that... Oh no. Don't even tell me. Don't even tell me. Don't even tell me it's a rerun! Are you kidding me? Are you actually kidding me? Let me get this straight. Because of the NFL and the Packers-Lions game, you preempted a live figure skating event to not just air an episode of Extreme Home Makeover, but to air a rerun? Are you for real? You didn't even air a new episode? You had to go with a rerun of an episode that you could have aired at any time, and an episode that, if you were a big enough fan of the show already, you either watched already, or you TiVoed already? You do realize that people, once they realize they saw this episode before, they're just gonna flip off, right? You decided not to show one of the last competitions that the legendary Michelle Kwan would ever compete in, to show an episode that we had already seen before? If you wanted to air Extreme Home Makeover that badly, you could have picked a different episode that was an hour long, not preempt the figure skating, and just have it run from 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock, since Detroit's ABC station at the time was area countdown to Super Bowl 40, which, let's be honest, no one was watching, because you aired the first half of that while actual football was going on and the 4:15 games were ending. And the number of people who would watch a preview of a Super Bowl that we don't even know what teams are going to be in it over actual football is just about 0. Air the figure skating live, air the Super Bowl thing if you really want to after the Sunday sports update after the game, and air Extreme Home Makeover before the pregame show. Boom! Problem solved, and you don't tick off everyone in the process. Instead, you put together one of the dumbest plans I've ever seen, especially since all this chaos and all this trouble was done over a freaking rerun. Absolutely brilliant. Seriously, I cannot begin to explain how absolutely dumb this whole plan was. Nothing about this made any sense. What should have been a nice and easy thing somehow caused drama involving the NFL, ABC, Extreme Home Makeover, and figure skating. We've ticked off just about every box. Because in 2005, when one ABC affiliate said, "Move that show," it caused an insane domino effect that was as ugly as the Lions season. Get your official Jaguar Gator 9 merchandise by going to jj9shop.com, and be sure to like and subscribe, as it really helps the channel out a lot. Join me every Wednesday night where we'll play NFL Trivia for cash prizes at 9 p.m. Eastern over on Twitch. To learn more about the history of college football, subscribe to Jaguar Gator 8. To learn more about the history of Major League Baseball, subscribe to Jaguar Gator 7. Also, special thanks to all of our Patreon supporters for helping out the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. See how you can become a patron and request future video topics in the description below.